I kept waiting for confidence to come. Guess what? It's not coming. Okay. It's not coming. So what you have to do is you have to rely on courage. It takes courage, not confidence, to be successful in life. And I know your listeners have courage that I can't even imagine. Your listeners have courage more than most people in the world.
You're listening to the 7 Echo Podcast, brought to you by 7 Eagle Group, the place where we highlight inspiring and interesting United States military veterans who have found a successful civilian career after trading in their uniforms.
All right, hey guys, I am so super excited today to be talking with my childhood friend, Deirdre Van Nest, who we ran into each other on Zoom a couple weeks ago, and we were connecting. I told her what I was doing, how I'm helping military vets, and she said, oh my gosh, you have to let me help you. I wanted to do something for vets for a long time. Deirdre's father was a Army reservist, and her grandfather won the Purple Heart in World War II. Deirdre lives out in Minneapolis right now. She went to Boston College, and she is the founder of an organization called Crazy Good Talk. So she is one of the top speaking skills experts around. She trains business executives and individuals how to speak with confidence, how to engage, how to inspire, and how to get action. And I am so psyched to be talking with you today, Deirdre. I can't thank you enough for taking a few minutes to spend with us. So welcome.
No, it's my pleasure, Jordy. I've been looking forward to this. So thank you for what you're doing for our country.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So what I want to talk about you today is I want to get your advice for our veterans who, as you know, are very proud people when they serve when they're serving, they're taught to sort of put team above self. You know, they're not meant to, they don't come out touting their own horns and talking how great they are. It goes against everything that they were taught in the military. And then they transition out of the military, and now they're faced with having to start their career. So there are two things I want to talk to you about today. First is networking, and then second interviewing skills. So let's start with networking. What are first, before we get into that, I'm sorry, I didn't get a chance to do this. How in the world did you get into this career? I had read about you that you were a fearful speaker when you first started out. So what drew you to this as a career for yourself?
Yeah, so do you recall we had acting, or we had a pretty good acting program, remember, in high school?
I do, yes. I wasn't in it, but I remember, yep.
And I really wanted to be a part of it, and then kind of it just had a bad experience with some comments made by a teacher, and it just kind of shut me down. And I quit acting, would not public speak to save my life for 24 years. And part of that was also, so I totally can relate to your listeners when you're talking about this idea of kind of talking yourself up or talking about yourself. That was like the last thing I ever wanted to have to do. And I was scared of it, and I was not really good at it either. So I get it. I come from this place. But eventually, and here's the thing, here's the mindset shift that I really want to invite your listeners to have about this concept, okay? I started speaking in 2008 because I actually had recently gotten certified as what's called a certified fearless living coach. It's a real thing. I know it sounds weird, but I was helping business owners at the time and professionals get past the fears and excuses that were holding them back in their life. I had been really helped with that type of coaching myself. Helped me get over my fear, partly get over for being on stage and whatnot, and just felt like God was calling me to help others in that same way. And I had no intention of getting out there and speaking, Jordy. I was just like, well, I'm just going to meet with people one to one, right? And have these conversations. But pretty soon people said, you know, Deirdre, you really need to start speaking about this more and share this with people, because that's how you get your message out. So here's kind of the mindset shift. What I started realizing, whether you're going to get on a stage or you're going to talk one-on-one with someone when you're networking or in an interview, you have something really valuable to bring to the table. But if you don't share what that is, you're actually depriving those people who could use the skills and talents and personality that only you were uniquely gifted with. And so to me, that should be hopefully a little crack in the armor, a little chink that will get you to go, you know what, talking about myself, I'm not talking about myself to talk about myself, right? Like I didn't get out there to speak just so I could bring in a whole bunch of money for myself. I got out there to speak so I could help other people. And so I would encourage you to look at it that way. When you're interviewing, you're networking, you're asking someone for help, you're doing it so that you can contribute to the greater good of the world, which I know you've already done that. And that's something you know how to do.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. That's a great mind shift. I never thought about it like that. You know, usually it's just like, get psyched up. You could do this. Come on. But now it's like, hey, I have some incredible skills to help and make the world a better place. And I have a duty to share that. That's great. I
Yeah,
love that. All right.
absolutely.
So
Go ahead.
go ahead. Did you have something else?
Well, I was just going to say, and this is just my perspective. So this might not be everyone's, but this will be some of your viewers, Jody. Like for me, God's the one who gifted you with those skills. So you're not really bragging on you. You're kind of bragging on God, and you're just doing
Blame it on him or her.
Yep, exactly.
All right. So now networking. One of the most important things, I know you'll agree, when somebody is looking for a job, is you have to go out and talk to people. You got to get over that fear. What are some of your tips, your favorite suggestions to folks to get out there and just meet as many people as you can?
Absolutely. Okay. So basically, I just want to put this in perspective. I look for a job every day of my life as an entrepreneur, right? I know, Jordy, you got this. I never have a job, and then I have a job, and then I never have a job again, right?
Yeah.
Like anytime I'm done with a project or a client, there's no job. So I'm telling you what I did, and even though I'm a business owner, it's the same as looking for a job.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to get out there, and you have to be willing to be vulnerable. Like you have to be willing to ask for help.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to do that.
Right. And not be ashamed to do that.
Yes. And again, going back to mindset shift. So the way when I'm asking, let's say, I'm going to use this as an example. One of the ways that I look for a job all the time is approaching people who may want to hire me as a keynoter for one of their company conferences, right? So what I could do is I could have the posture of, oh, you know, I'm a speaker. Could you hire me to come in to speak at your conference? That feels kind of yucky. Like that.
Yeah, it's weak.
It feels weak. So instead, if I were talking to you, Jordy, and let's say I knew you ran a conference, right, that I would be a good fit for, I would say, hey, you know what? I have this keynote called How to Stand Out and Own the Room Every Time You Speak. And every time I deliver this keynote, I get emails, or the organizer gets emails talking about how they just got these great strategies they could use the second that they left the room, and how they implemented them and how they were successful. You know, I'd say something about the benefits that my audience gets from listening to me.
Right.
Jordy, I would love to, if you think that could add value to your group, I would love to be considered to speak at your event. Do you want to talk about that? Or can we talk about that? Right. So I'm focusing always on the value that I bring, not can you do this for me?
Right. No, I love that. That's awesome.
If we translate that into looking for a job, you know, whatever your skill set is, you could be like, you know what, I gained the most incredible welding skills, right, while I was in the military. And I would love to be able to just like dig into a local company with my skills and add massive value to that company. Who do you know that you could introduce me to?
Right.
Have that conversation.
How do you teach people to do that with confidence? Like you said, you were scared.
Oh, you won't have confidence at first. Just forget about it.
Forget about it.
Don't worry about confidence. Here's the thing. This is the thing. I told you that I left the stage and I left speaking, and I wouldn't talk in front of people, and I wouldn't talk about the value I could bring to the world for 24 years. I kept waiting for confidence to come. Guess what? It's not coming. Okay. It's not coming. So what you have to do is you have to rely on courage. It takes courage, not confidence, to be successful in life. And I know your listeners have courage that I can't even imagine. Your listeners have courage more than most people in the world. So courage is a gifting you don't lack, a skill you don't lack. So what you do is you rely on that courage. You acknowledge that you're scared. You kind of make friends with the fear. It's like, all right, Deirdre, I get that you're scared. It's going to be okay. We're going to do this anyway. You kind of have a little conversation with fear, and then you and courage move forward together. And what happens over time is you will gain the confidence you want. Confidence is a byproduct of taking courageous action. It's not the fuel.
That's good. I've never heard of it like that before. I always hear the opposite, which is, come on, you can do this. You're confident,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you're right. Just acknowledge it and say, whatever.
Yeah.
That's
I
good.
do most things afraid. Anything that I've been successful at, I've been scared to death to do.
Yeah. I know you have some great suggestions. I was reading about the 30, or I forget what you call it, the elevator pitch. When you're at a party or at a bar, you're meeting people wherever. What are some of the things that people can take away from how to frame theirs? Should they memorize something? What are some of the key
I
things?
know this is like the bane of everyone's existence, right? This 30-second thing, like your heart's pounding. I still get that. It's just an awkward thing. So I want to put that out there. If you never feel comfortable, and like I said, I've been professionally speaking for 12 years, I still get nervous when it's my turn to do an elevator pitch. So that is what it is. But I think it goes back to, again, first of all, finding words that feel natural and feel good for you. Like if you have memorized this thing that sounds like a marketing thing, that you're going to be less likely to say it, right? So go back again. What's the value that you could bring to a team? So Jordy, what would be like maybe a common skill that one of your or many of your listeners have that they might be trying to find a job in? Can you give me an idea?
Like cybersecurity analyst.
Okay, so cybersecurity analyst. I would, instead of saying, when someone says, what do you do? Instead of saying you're a cybersecurity analyst, you could say, I help make sure like bad guys don't hack into your computer while you're sleeping and steal all your data, right? So think about a way to speak in benefits rather than the title.
Yeah.
And if you can make it kind of fun or, or funny, all the better. And quite honestly, depending on who I'm talking to and what the scenario is, I might have a couple of different ways I say it, right? One of the things I'll say is when someone just asked me at my office today, oh, what is it that you do? Because I work in a co-working space, so we have different people doing different things. And I just thought, I really help leaders, business professionals stand out and own the room whenever they speak and make those emotional connections so that they can grab and keep attention of any audience. But if I'm feeling lazy, if I don't want to have a conversation about what I'm doing, like, those times when you're like, I really just don't want to talk about what I do. Then I'll use a title and be like, oh, I'm a keynote speaker or I'm a trainer. And people are like, oh, interesting. And then the conversation usually dies.
A car salesman.
Right.
Something you touched on, which I really like, is like, don't do something that's memorized or, it sounds crap, it sounds like you wrote it down on paper and stuff. Like being genuine. Talk about how important that is to really like build honest relationships and show interest in people when you're meeting them and be yourself.
So I'm gonna be genuine right now. And I just noticed I had flaxseed in my yogurt for lunch and I have a big flaxseed. Hold on, I'm gonna turn and get this thing out.
I just noticed.
Is it gone?
All gone.
All right, dude, we've known each other for like 30 years. I expect you to get my back if it happens again, okay?
I didn't know if you would, a fake.
Did you notice it?
Or so I didn't know if it was a fake tooth. It's sort of like you can't ask somebody, oh, or when are you expecting?
All right, well, that's true. I almost did that. Oh, it was not good. Okay, so anyway, that was an example of being genuine and being vulnerable because I was going to ask you to pause the recording so I could get that out. And then he just asked me about being genuine. I got to do it here. Okay, so so a couple of things. So first of all, when you're putting this thing together, especially like you might go and have someone help you write it, which is awesome. I mean, that is great to get the coaching and the help to do this. But make sure whoever's giving you advice, they use words that you would use.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to do is have something where it's not how you would normally speak. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I think that's really important. That's one of the things when I'm working with clients. I'm like, here's the idea, but let's say it how you would actually
Right.
say it. You
It's
never
so
use
easy to
that.
spot somebody who's saying stuff where you're like, oh, it doesn't sound like
Yeah,
you, you
yeah.
know?
So that's the first thing. The second thing is having it memorized is fine as long as you have internalized it. So
Right.
memorized to me is where like you have to start internalizing by memorizing, but memorizing, people imagine it sounds scripted or rehearsed. So memorize it to the point where it becomes a part of you. And if I shook you awake at night, you'd be able to repeat it, right? So you have to get like really comfortable with it. And those are the two things I would say, or
Yeah.
three things. Focus on value, right? Rather than title. What value do you bring to the team? So you're not talking about you, you're talking about the team. Because I know if you like this team idea, what
Yeah.
value can you bring to the team, right? Then make sure it's in your words, and then memorize it, but do it enough and enough and repeat it enough and practice it enough with safe people and friends and family to where it feels and sounds natural. Those would be my top three tips for that.
That's good. I like those.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk now about interviewing.
Okay.
You're sitting in that lobby waiting to be called or getting ready for a Zoom interview. Like you said, your heart's pounding. What are some things that people can do to relax, so they come into that interview,
Yeah.
themselves, I guess. I don't know.
Okay. So again, and I know I'm preaching to the choir with all this mindset work, right? Because a lot of what your viewers have to do what they did is mindset work. So the first thing that I would invite you to consider when you're going for any type of job, okay, and this is what I do when I'm going for my jobs, is I determine that I am committed but not attached. So what does
What
that
do you
mean?
mean by that? Yeah, tell me.
I am committed. So let's say again, Jordy, you're interviewing me for a job, and this is our interview on Zoom, right? I am 100% committed to figuring out if you and I should take the next step together, whatever that should be. But I am not attached to the outcome.
Hmm.
So I might really need the work. I'm not discounting that. I might really want the job, but I have to be disconnected from the outcome. Otherwise, I'm not going to act natural.
That's interesting. Yeah. So you, in your head, you're saying, hey, if it doesn't work out, there'll be other ones. It's not.
Yeah, and I'm really thinking about, I go in and I want what's best for you, the client or the company in this case. So let me give you an example. I had I'm going to call it an interview 2 weeks ago with a group, brand new vertical for me, new business, actually someone who calls in the Department of Defense, totally new area for me. The CEO works with me privately on speech coaching, but is interested in having me do sales training and presentation skills training for his company. And I said, okay, I'm happy to do that. But I think in the first meeting, my agenda is to make sure I'm the right person for you. And if my skill or my expertise isn't right for what you need, then I want to either bring in other people on the project or pass you along to someone else if I know who it is. And so I met with him and his executive team, and I laid that out on the table right there. Like, here's my agenda. What's yours? We just need to figure out if we're going to get to the next step. And so I'm listening the whole time and asking questions to make sure I can add value. And if I can't add value there, then it's not right. Even though, of course, I'd love the work.
Right.
So what happens when you get in that situation where you're committed but not attached, you can all of a sudden be yourself.
Yeah.
Like you can
That's
be
good. It goes both ways. They have to impress you just the same.
Exactly.
Right.
And really, do you want to work at a company where you don't feel like you can add value and they can't add value to your life? No.
Yeah.
So think about it. You're seeing if you want to date. This is like you're going on a date with someone. And you're committed to figuring out the next step, but you're not worried about anything beyond that. It's going to really free you up to be more natural.
Right. That's great. I know you are the speaking expert, but talk about the importance of listening.
Well, I think part of being a good, powerful presenter is also listening, and I was just reading, a good friend of mine, Michael Gregory, wrote this book called The Collaboration Effect. And I was just reading it last night. Okay, I might butcher this term, but he was basically talking about, I think the way he said it was, when you give information to people, make sure you do it judiciously. And what that means is make sure you give them the information they want.
Right.
So part of listening is kind of ascertaining what type of person are they? Are they someone who seems more analytical and just wants the facts? Or are they someone who is a little more expansive and relationship oriented, and they maybe want a little more information than the other type of person? And so listening for those cues, listening for how they might want you to tell them about yourself.
That's good. To read those signals.
Yeah. And you know, you'll get better at it the more you do it. I think the other piece is, you know, they always say in a business meeting, the one who talks more wins. And so if you can get the interviewer talking more about themselves and the job and what they're looking for, they're going to walk out saying, wow, that was a really successful. So being a good listener, so that, and don't assume. I have this, tell me if you have this too. I think this is a New York habit, but maybe it's just me. I tend to sort of assume how someone's going to finish their sentence, and then I want to finish it for them and cut them off. So I work hard to like actually let people finish and be present and be listening without trying to form what I'm going to say next.
Right. No, it's a real skill that people, myself included, everyone needs to work on that. That's a good one. Touch on a little bit of nonverbal. You know, you're in an interview, you're networking with people, the stuff you're not saying. What are some of your favorite tips?
I think like making good eye contact is really critical. And I think in Zoom these days, it's hard because good eye contact is looking at the webcam. Right. And I want to look at Jordy right now. So I guess let's try it out here. I'm looking at the webcam now. Does it look like I'm looking at you? Right.
No, you're a little bit off and over my shoulder. Yeah.
Okay. What about right now when I'm looking at you now?
Yeah. No, I'm sorry, the first one you were looking at me, and then when you moved your eyes away, it wasn't.
Right. Now I'm not. And so that's weird, right? I really want to look at you, and I have to keep telling myself, even look at the webcam, look at the webcam. Right. So look at the webcam, and if it helps you, like if that's something you're going to forget, cut out a head of a picture of someone you really like. Sure. Put it on a popsicle stick, I kid you not, and tape it behind your camera.
Yeah.
And you'll have a face there.
You could also shrink the window and put their picture right next to the dot.
Oh, I like that too. I haven't done that.
Yeah, just shrink the zoom to like an inch and then put it up, because you don't need to see yourself.
No, and you can do the hide self view. A client of mine just taught me that.
I saw that. Oh, that's good.
Oh, so what you can do is you can click on the 3 buttons next to your name. Yeah. Try that. And then I'm going to do that. Actually, I forgot to do it and hit hide. I'm glad I didn't though, because I wouldn't have known about that flaxseed.
Yeah.
Had I not. So let's hit hide self view. Now I just see you. Do you just see me now?
Yep. No, I see myself. I would have to do it on my end too. I didn't do it on mine.
Okay, I'm going to move you up. Yeah, that is better. That is better.
A little bit better. You're in the neighborhood.
Yeah. So eye contact. Also, you know, again, for these Zoom days, make sure like don't be leaning back like this, and don't be like this.
Right. I did one the other day. The guy, it was just his forehead. I was looking.
Yeah. So make sure you're lined up, kind of like here, right? Does this feel good, Jordy? Like I'm not too far. I'm not too.
Yeah, your head's sort of. I'm a little too high, but your head. Like, sort of
So record yourself first before you get on these interviews, so you can see what you look like with position and what's going on behind you, because you want to make sure that's kind of clutter free. Yeah. You can have elements of your personality, ones that you want them to see, not ones you don't. But those are like probably the biggest thing for Zoom, and then just making sure like the lighting is decent and the sound quality is good. And I don't know, are many of your viewers in person right now? I mean,
no, they're most of the interviews, at least the first ones, are all Zoom.
Yeah. Oh, so one tip about lighting. I don't know. Have you covered lighting yet on this?
No.
Okay. So one tip about lighting. I'm not in love with my lighting today, and I'll tell you why. It's not horrible, but it's not the best. The room that I wanted to go into was taken. Yeah. Ideally, you want to be, if you can be in natural light with the windows in front of you, so the light's coming towards you, that's the ideal situation. Okay. If you can't have that, you never want a light behind you. You never want to be backlit. You want to be front lit and side lit. What's not ideal today about my lighting is I have this light over my head.
Yeah.
You ideally, if you could not have something over your head, because it does do like shadows and glows, that's better. Just lights in front of you. My room is too dark if I didn't have that light today. So I kind of leave that on.
So much of what we tell the veterans is a lot of this stuff. It's like, that book, like Everything I Needed to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. It's
Yeah.
like, just do the easy stuff. It's like, pretend like you're in person when you do the Zoom interview. Would you
Yeah.
wear like the t-shirt with the baseball hat on backwards, And
Yeah.
I was doing an interview with a veteran the other day, and behind her was her bed with, all of a sudden the two dogs jump up on the bed behind her and over her shoulder. One of them's like humping the other one over the shoulder. I'm like,
Yeah. Not good.
edit that part out.
Edit that out. Exactly.
I know, it's fun. One more thing on interviewing. I know you're big on like the closing. The interview's wrapping up. You're saying your goodbyes. What are some tips or advice for people when they're making that last impression?
Absolutely. And just one thing I want to say in the interview itself, if you can, and you might share this already, Jordy, but like if you can go on LinkedIn and find out something about the interviewer so you can have a personal conversation, that's going to help. But also share stories. Don't go down a bullet point of everything you've accomplished. Bring stories from your experience and share stories to show the value you bring.
Right.
But in terms of the wrap up, please don't leave the interview without scheduling or asking for some sort of next step. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's pretend, let's sort of role play this thing,
Yep.
right? So let's say you and I was interviewing for a job with you,
Yep.
right? What's something you might say? What do you imagine someone might say in an interview? And then I'll kind of role play what I would do to get the next step.
I would say, tell me about an example of how you overcame a challenge. Either.
Right. So I do that. Let's say we're wrapping up. Let's say I've done the interview.
Oh, at the end. Okay.
Thank
you so much for coming in, or for your interest in the position. Do you have any questions for me? And
yeah. You know what? I would love to know. So maybe I've already asked some culture questions and blah, 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 but let's just assume this is the wrap up question. What's your time frame for making a decision?
Oh, probably in the next couple of weeks. We just have to interview a few more people.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. So when, I'm super interested in taking the next step. What is the next step, by the way? Is it a job offer? Is it another interview? What's the next step?
We would have one more interview with a few other people.
Okay, that sounds great. So when do you want me to follow up with you? When can I follow up with you on this, and how? Do you want me to call you? Do you want me to email you?
How about Tuesday? You can give me a call.
Oh, I would love to. Okay, I will give you a call on Tuesday. Thank you.
Yeah,
okay.
That's good. You took control and you forced me to have an answer for you by Tuesday.
Yeah. Now let's pretend you say, I don't know, I'll get back to you. Let's do that. Okay. So when, how would you, when can I follow up with you on this? I'm super interested. When can I follow up with you, and how do you want me to follow up?
I'm not sure. We haven't really decided yet.
Okay. So you're thinking you have a few more interviews and it might be a few more weeks. Okay. So let me ask you this. It's December 21st, right? Okay. So if I haven't heard from you by like the 6th of January, could I reach out to you and just to see where things are going?
Yeah, that's fair. Absolutely. Give me a call.
Okay, great. So I'll do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Then the 6th of January comes, you don't miss that. You reach out. And it's likely that he's not going to respond back to me. I mean, he might, but chances are he's not going to respond back. Yeah. So I'm going to say something. Let's say he wants me to call. I would say, or even an email, hey, Jordy, as promised. And I always put in the subject line, as promised. As promised usually gets an email opened. Yeah. So I'll say, hey, Jordy, just, hope you had a great holiday. Just following up, you asked me to give you an email back on the 6th. Just want to see where we're at. Yeah. He ignores you. A week later, I would do it again. And then a couple of days later, this is my money line. This always gets a call back. I'll say, Jordy, I am so sorry if I have crossed the line from being persistent to being a pest. Yeah. But I don't want to drop the ball on my end. So if you could just let me know if I'm in the running either way, that would be awesome. 9 times out of 10, they'll reach back and they're like, oh, sorry, we were just busy. Yes. Yeah. All is great, and kumbaya, and you move forward.
That's great. Most people do the opposite when they do. I've called 3 times. You are not returning my calls. What's going on?
Right.
It's like, holy crap, do I want to work with this person? But yeah, no, the way you did it, it puts it on you, not on them, which is great.
Yeah. And then they get the message, oh, yeah. I said I'd call her back, and it's been 3 times. So everybody understands.
But you let them save face.
Totally.
No, great. I love it. That's
Yeah.
so awesome.
Yes.
Such good advice, such really good advice. I'm so happy you did this. I mean,
Oh, me too.
it means so much to me that you took some time and you said you really want to help. And this is something else I tell civilian, a lot of veterans too. It's like there's so many civilians like myself, like you, who have nothing but appreciation and just want to help and don't ever feel awkward reaching out and asking, you know.
I honestly can't imagine. Well, first of all, when you start asking for people to make connections for you and you start asking for help, it's amazing how many people love helping, but especially the military and veterans. I cannot think of barely a person alive who wouldn't want to help you. And here's what I want to say. Um, and again, this is from my own faith perspective, but there's only one other human being that was willing to put their life on the line for me, and that's Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Like legit, there you are willing to put your life on the line for me.
Right.
That is no small thing. I think most Americans appreciate that. I
Right.
think they get that, no matter what you might hear in the news or on social media. I think most Americans are so grateful. We know we have the country we have because of you, and we do what we can to help you. And that's how I feel about you. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
No, that's nice. Regardless of how people feel about the war, what side you're, it doesn't
Right.
matter. Everyone is supportive of the veteran, who most of the time is a young man or woman who volunteered to do this. So
Yeah.
that's great. Well, hey, thank you so much. You are the best. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you taking a few minutes to share all these incredible tips. Everybody check out crazygoodtalks.com, right? Did I get that right?
Yes, you got it. You
If
got it.
anyone out there, I know we do reach a lot of business executives and companies who are interested in hiring veterans. Please, Deirdre offers some incredible programs, some coaching and group training and individual. Did I get that right too?
Yeah.
Group and
Yeah.
individual. So if you
Yep.
ever want to inquire about her services, please do. She has a ton of other free content on your website. I was watching a lot of your videos.
I do, and I actually am launching Crazy Good Talks podcast on the 26th of
Nice.
January. So I'm super
Girl.
excited. So subscribe.